So as we go throughout this world that we live in, uh, we develop psychological attachments to things that allow us to feel safe, right? And but eventually, there's also an experience in your world in which there's a need to discover and explore new things, which kind of goes against that attachment urge. And so there's a fear of not taking charge of your life, of not developing. And this is the thing that comes to the forefront when Saturn moves into Aries. Um, and so I want to start out with that as I am about to go through my notes about this transit that's coming up this Saturday. May 24th on the East Coast, Saturday night, but on the West Coast it would be May 25th, early May 25th. Of the Saturn goes into Aries, and whenever Saturn takes about 2 to 3 years in a sign, spends about 2 to 3 years in a sign. And it's important to keep in mind that it is going to go back into Pisces at the end of this year to finish up. But it's kind of like we're getting a 3-month preview of Saturn in Aries starting this Saturday, and then it's up until like September 1st. So from May 24th to September 1st, Saturn is going to be in the sign of Aries, which is the first sign. You can also think of it as the beginning of the zodiac. Saturn, a brand new Saturn cycle. And there is since about 2023, March 2023, Saturn in Pisces, this transit we've all kind of experienced. We've kind of seen many things with this. Boundaries have gone away, and it's much more about feeling into things, because that's why Pisces comes after Aquarius, because you're finally like feeling into and making it human. And sadly, I mean, there's so many things with Saturn and Pisces, such as, for example, genocide. Like last time in '94, it was the Rwandan genocide. That Saturn and Pisces transit, and then now we have what's going on in Palestine. But anyway, so it does change the story a bit, and we can use it to our own advantage, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to make this video. I had written down this is going to be a great time to stand up for yourself, self-identity. These questions will come to the forefront and will be tested in a way. And in some ways, Saturn makes things harder. So it's not going to be as easy to express yourself, which is a very Aries thing, authentically. In some ways, there's going to be more challenges brought to it, but with those challenges, you allow the opportunity to build structure. So it's going to bring significant energies here that encourage intentional development and new beginnings. This transit is viewed as a high-frequency opportunity for personal growth and self-identity. And as we can experience right now, this period is marked by collapsing and merging timelines, prompting individuals to consciously build their futures. So this is, if you've wanted a time for self-development, this is going to be a great time for that, because with regards to personal development, we have self-identity, and this transit encourages a re-evaluation of personal goals and aspirations, pushing individuals to align with their soul missions. What did I come here to do? There's a lot of stuff that we do that just kind of, to get through the day or whatever, but this is about like, is what you're doing meaningful and moving forward with alignment with your goals? Aries is a Mars-ruled sign, Mars domicile, and then Sun exalts here. And when we look at the triplicity of the sect-lights, Jupiter is also a ruler of this sign, which a lot of people don't know about, but basically, in many ways, it is guiding us forward, the Jupiter. So it is it's a key background thing that's going on. Um, so Saturn's role is responsibility and structure. And basically, Saturn emphasizes the need for dedication and focus in pursuing long-term goals, urging individuals to establish boundaries and commitments. Uh, this 0 degrees of Aries signifies a fresh start, prompting individuals to declare their intentions and what they wish to leave behind. So boundaries is another thing that's going to be come to the focus, and like where you need to ask for your boundaries so that you can focus on your own thing, right? That's another Aries thing. I've always liked that analogy of, swimming in the pool is Pisces, but then when you get up and dry yourself with the towel, that's the Aries experience of like, okay, I'm no longer in that pool like with everyone. I'm my own self, and you in dryness, right? Heat, fire. Aries is the driest sign. It's probably in many ways it's that spark of fire, like when you light the match. It's cardinal fire. One thing we think of when we think of Aries is leadership, right? So I mean, as we saw with the past few years when we had the nodes in Libra Aries, there were many leaders that were kind of subsided. They were replaced. So expect influence, global leadership dynamics, new authority figures emerging, and existing structures being challenged. We had, I don't know if I want to go into that right now, but Bill Clinton, like last time Saturn was in Aries was from April 96 till about, I don't want to give you the wrong date, but I believe it was sometime in 1998. So we saw the Bill Clinton Monica Lewinsky scandal, right? That he was a leader of the United States and he was tested through that scandal. So many leaders that have gotten away with things in the past, like they're not going to be able to get away with those things when Saturn's in Aries. That's one example. Individuals will be called to align their actions with their true intentions, fostering a culture of accountability and authenticity. That's an important shift that we're going to kind of see come to the forefront. As Saturn moves through Aries, it will initiate a new growth trajectory, encouraging individuals to embrace their independence and personal power while navigating the complexities of change. And it's also important to notice that Neptune has been there for a few months, and we're all kind of downloading this new information. It's so new for us because Neptune is even longer than Saturn for how long it stays in a sign, and so Neptune's been in Pisces since 2011, 2012, and then now we get this new beginning Neptune cycle. But along with that, in some ways, I think it's an opportune time for this Saturn in Aries compared to like the past times Saturn's had been in Aries, because right now, Aries is a big part of the story with Neptune there. And then we have Pluto in Aquarius and we have Uranus in Gemini. So immediately that Saturn will be making a trine to Pluto. And then in July, when Uranus goes into Gemini, it'll be making a sextile to Gemini. Or Saturn will be making sextiles to both of them because Aries sextiles Aquarius and Gemini. But thinking of new beginnings right now is like there's so much momentum, and going into this Saturn and Aries transit itself is because now we're clear of the Venus and Mars retrograde stuff that was going on earlier this year. The first part of 2025 was pretty tough. I'm not gonna lie, it was really tough. But now as Memorial Day is approaching, we're transitioning into summer of 2025, and this is a big transit. And along with in June, we're gonna have Jupiter in Cancer, another big, Saturn and Jupiter are collective shifts. They're about the world that we live in, and Whereas Mars and Venus are more personal planets, Saturn and Jupiter are more big scale planets in terms of, there's so many things I've already talked about in the past with regards to that. The Saturn Jupiter triplicity shift into air, Pluto and Aquarius, like things are going really fast. We have AI now. We can already kind of feel this new world, right? And with Saturn, it's gonna like start really planting it in for us. So we are entering a very important time in humanity, and I think that it helps so much to be mindful of these energies that are going on to help make sense of everything. And let's see, I have written here, Saturn in Aries is serious, but is happy too. And one thing that I think Saturn in Aries has over everything else, every other Saturn placement, is it's a really good time to stand up for yourself. Saturn in Aries makes that possible. It is fast. You know how Mars, Aries ruler, is exalted in Capricorn? It does really well because it cools off that Mars energy. With Saturn and Aries, it's not like equally as easy. Like Saturn's very cold energy, but when you put it in a really hot environment like Aries, it's not really comfortable. And there's certain things that are better in the moment and quickly. It's not better to prepare for them, right? Improv, and that's kind of the Aries environment, and so that's why Saturn is not, because Saturn is always thinking long term and slow and steady, but in Aries, that's not what Aries energy is about. So I find it fascinating that with Saturn here, like with all planets that are in places that are like kind of weird or unfamiliar for the planet's purpose, you eventually end up getting something that's better than when it's alone in its strength at home, because you're forcing these energies that are very different to work together. And oftentimes that's when we have really, really big, deep change. And so that is something to be aware of. Like when in those time periods, you have different kinds of opportunities that arise that don't normally arise. So despite all the negativity that like you might hear about this placement, it's just keep in mind new beginnings, personal development, and those things. We're all living, right? We're all learning new things every day and going through struggles and growing. And so just think of it in terms of that's basically where we're at. New beginnings and serious commitments. One last thing I did want to go through here is these interpretive guidelines for Saturn and Aries. Saturn in Aries seeks to establish and preserve the self through an energetic push toward new experience. So that's how, because each time Saturn's in a sign, it's always trying to establish and preserve something. And through, and Aries is about new experiences. So it's trying to make that process crystallized, if that sort of makes sense. Dynamic effort is focused toward a single pointed release of energy, develop self by cultivating courage and daring. And by the way, these are interpretive guidelines for people that have Saturn in Aries. So if you do have Saturn in Aries, you're entering your Saturn return, which is an instrumental, important life milestone. You know how like in the USA, especially, like they say you're an adult at 21. All those different like checkpoints, like 18, 21. It's actually your Saturn cycle 29 when you're officially an adult, because your neocortex is still developing until that point. So after your Saturn return is when you're officially an adult, like 29 in astrology, 29 to about 31, like that's when you become an adult in astrology world. So yeah, if you're about to enter your Saturn return, then just keep that in mind. You're entering an important transition now. So, anyways, I did want like I wanted to make this video because I know that in my previous one when I talked about Jupiter and Cancer coming up, I didn't mention this Saturn and Aries, but this is one of the biggest transits of 2025. And so it is something that in many ways I'm sort of I'm not looking forward to all of it, but this is why I think, talking about the energies and looking at the previous cycles gives us an idea about where we're headed, right? And I think like there is a lot of negativity right now and a lot of like we don't know where we're going right now, right? Like especially with USA leadership and the unprecedented things that have already happened this year, right? So I think, and many of us are talking about or witnessing bad leadership in many ways, and so and this Saturn's going to test that leadership. I don't know what else I want to say at this point right now about this, but I would love to hear you all's insights on anything I discussed so far about Saturn and Aries and what you think this transit's going to be like, whether you're excited or not. And I hope you all are doing well. I'm feeling a lot of positive momentum. We just started Gemini season, which is kind of about that, and we're approaching a Gemini new moon right after this Saturn transit. So in 2 days after Saturn goes into Aries, we have a Gemini new moon, which is a great time to set new intentions. And I hope you're taking time to ground this energy as well, because there's a lot of new energy right now, and it is important that we ground it and put our best foot forward. I wish you all the best. Thank you for watching.